He's back, and so we're back. Martin Ødegaard runs the show as Arsenal comprehensively beat Nottingham Forest to return to winning ways. Thomas Partey scores his one screamer of every season, and Ethan Nwaneri leaves us all ruing the fact that he hasn't played more. You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast with me, Harry Symeou. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome back to the pod. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all well. Apologies for the technical issues at the start of the stream. I seem to have technical issues pretty much every time at the minute. Not sure why. Not sure what's going on. The software that I use on a few occasions recently has crashed, which has been annoying just as I've started the stream. And until I click start streaming, I can't possibly know that that's going to happen. So I do apologize to every single one of you who is watching us on the live stream and who had to deal with that. If you're listening to it back or watching it back, you won't have a clue what I'm on about. But hey, good to see so many of you with us bright and early on a Sunday morning. It's a happy pod for the first time in a little while, isn't it? Arsenal move to within just a point of Manchester City, and all of a sudden the mood around the place is far more positive. We've still got Liverpool to worry about and Liverpool to try and catch up to, but as I've said on many episodes recently, I'm not quite as concerned by them, and that's not to be disrespectful to them, and it's not to be disrespectful to the job Arne Slot's done, to the group of players that they have. They're a wonderful, wonderful side with a lot of talent, with a lot of winners in there, players that have won the Premier League, players that have won the UEFA Champions League. So you can never take them lightly. What I would say, though, is I much prefer that it's them that are sort of clear at the top than Manchester City, because I think that we are well equipped enough to catch Liverpool. And when you look at the fixtures we've had in comparison to Liverpool's, I think there will be a point in the season where we start to claw back some of that advantage that they've built up over recent months. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and I'm not saying we're definitely going to do it, but I feel a lot better about the fact that it's Liverpool sitting pretty at the top of the league than I do that it's Manchester City. And that is obviously based on what we've seen from both sides over the last few years. But anyway, forget about them. Let's talk about Arsenal, because it was a really, really enjoyable performance to watch. It was one that you looked at and you just sat there kind of rubbing your hands together thinking, this is it. You know, this is the Arsenal that we've watched over the last couple of seasons. This is the Arsenal that we've all become accustomed to. This is the Arsenal that we've all been following so closely for such a long time now, and that we feel really, really invested in. As I say, it wasn't just the result yesterday. Like, it was a must-win game. We had to go out there. We had to put on... Well, did we have to put on a show? Not really. We just had to take all 3 points. I think that's what people were looking for first and foremost. But to put on a show while doing so against a side that many tipped, myself included, to give us problems, has gone quite a long way in convincing people that actually, you know what, we're still a very, very good side. And it's funny because sometimes I think we overanalyze football when actually it can be far simpler, can't it? You look at it and you go, well, best player comes back into the team, Arsenal play much better. Like, it doesn't have to be that complex. It doesn't have to be that complicated. You know, it's sometimes as simple as that. Your best players come back, your best players are available, and you click and you perform far, far better. We've got loads to get into today. We're going to talk about the team selection because Mikel Arteta made a really brave choice, I thought. We're going to talk about the midfield. We're going to talk about that dynamic on the right-hand side. We're going to talk about Leandro Trossard as well, because I've been quite critical of him recently, but I thought... he was really, really good yesterday, a lot better than he has been in recent weeks anyway. I think there are reasons for that, but I think you need to give him his flowers too. Let me say a few hellos to people joining me in the live chat right now before we dive into all of that. Rodman says, one game and we're back. Oh, come on, mate. Like, relax. Wind it in. It's a Sunday morning. Go and have a fry-up or something. Patrice says, hello, Harry. Finally, I've caught you live from Zambia. Good to see you, my friend. Tebow with a question that I'll come back to later on in the show, by the way, right? So if you've got any questions, just hold fire on them for the minute, because I don't want them to get lost in the chaos that is the chat. Nelson says, in response to me being a little bit late starting the stream, a reality where Harry is on time would just not make sense. Absolutely. Big hello to Tom. We've got Paul James who says, what's going on? That's because my software was playing up at the start. Don't worry, I'll crop that out for those of you that are wondering what we're talking about. Who else we got? We got Jid in the chat. The Masked Cannon is with us. Steve Stone is with us. Dr. Pepper says, great to join live. Nice hoodie, Harry. I just ordered one. Uh, he likes the look of Cunha, who scored a couple of really good goals for Wolves yesterday. And he says he's doing well for him on FC25. St. Francis says, Harry, you called out that Partey goal because Forest leave that space at the edge of the box. We did talk about that, didn't we, in some of the analysis we did in the lead up to this game. And it wasn't just the Partey goal, if you think about it. It was when Nwaneri made his run from, when he scored his first Premier League goal, sort of drifting from that area on the edge of the box, just hanging back a little bit initially, and then making that dart into that key area. And if you think about the Bukayo Saka goal as well, the way we were able to kind of work that opening was because we worked it into Martin Ødegaard on the edge of the box. He was able to find Saka again, and it all developed from there. So I think we were right to highlight that Nottingham Forest do have an issue dealing with that area of the pitch. So it's good to see some of the analysis coming good, of course. Anyway, look, let's start with the team selection. Mikel Arteta made 5 changes, which kind of goes to show that when it comes to predicting the team, we don't know anything, do we? We really, really don't. The 5 changes were as follows. Calafiori came in, Georgino came in, Marino came in, Trossard came in, and Jesus came in. And I got to say, when I saw those changes, I was a little bit worried. We'd gone to Chelsea just before the international break and played what you could argue is our best team when everybody's fit and available. And we looked better. We weren't quite there, but we looked better. We looked like we were capable of winning the game. And there's been a few games in recent times where we've looked at them and we've just gone, well, we don't look like we're capable of winning this. We don't look like we deserve anything more than a draw. Sometimes we deserve to lose. Sometimes we were probably good value for a point, but the number of games in which you could come away from saying Arsenal deserved to win that was really low. And that was a concern. I think more than the results, people were stressing about the performances because the creativity had just completely deserted us. And so to make 5 changes going into the game that you got to win, that is so important in the sense of it could be the kickstarter to a run, and we need to go on a run if we're going to close the gap on those that are ahead of us. I think that was really bold from Mikel Arteta. And I remember him in the radio room after the game when we interviewed him. He said something along the lines of, I left Rice out, I left Partey out, I left Martinelli out, I left Kai Havertz out. And if that goes wrong and we don't win the game, you'll kill me for it. So he was well aware of what the reaction to his decision was going to be had the game not gone the way he wanted to. But he told us that he felt it. He felt that this was the right thing to do. There's a few players in the group that obviously in an ideal world he would have loved to have started, but they just couldn't. And so, you got to lean on the squad at times. And when we were talking in the summer about sort of raising the floor of the squad, people were going, oh, that's just a cop-out for Arsenal not doing enough business. No, raising the floor of a squad allows you to do what we did yesterday, which is make 5 changes, change 5 of your outfield players, half of your team essentially, and still get a performance, still get the result that you need. It's really, really important to be able to do that in this day and age more than any other because you're competing on so many fronts. We want to get ourselves back into the Premier League title race. We want to go far in the Champions League, and our job in the league stage is not done yet. You want to continue to progress in the League Cup, and come January, the FA Cup starts for us as well. So we'll be fighting, hopefully, on multiple fronts, on 4 fronts. And so if you can't use your squad, then you've got a problem. And one of the problems you could argue has come back to bite us in the last couple of years is that we've been too over-reliant on a very small group of players. And I still think there are players in there that are irreplaceable. Martin Ødegaard is one of them, and he showed us that again yesterday. William Saliba's probably another one. There's a few in that group, Bukayo Saka, that we just don't have deputies anywhere near the same level. But if you can make changes elsewhere and freshen things up and give people a breather and take people out of the firing line when they're out of form, if you can do that successfully, that says a lot about the strength of your squad. And so the injuries at the start of the season, I think, have skewed our view on the squad. We look at it a lot and we go, we haven't got enough there. We haven't got enough in that position. We haven't got enough here. A lot of the time, we don't have enough available to us because we're dealing with injuries and suspensions and other problems, dips in form. It's not always about going and adding more and adding more and adding more. That's not how football works. And we're going to talk about some of those changes. We're going to get into some of those individuals because no Rice or Partey in the midfield, I thought, was the biggest, boldest decision, actually. Marino and Georgino were given the nod instead. Mikel Marino is kind of semi-impressed at times since he's arrived at Arsenal. I thought he was good when he came on at Chelsea, but, I don't think he's been that good outside of that. He played well for a half, I would say, against Liverpool as well. But outside of that, he's looked slow. He's not looked up to speed. He's not looked like he's ready. He's not looked like he's ready to have an impact in this team and in the Premier League. And that's been a real concern. And Georgino is one that I've been scratching my head over for a while. You guys would have heard me say on this pod, on Football's 12 Man, on the Highbury squad, that at a time when we were lacking creativity, in the absence of Martin Ødegaard, we needed to use the likes of Georgino more. Because I said this on the Matchday Reaction pod as well, which you can check out, by the way, over on Patreon. Sign up to the Chronicles of a Gooner on Patreon if you like, and you will get access to extra content as well as be supporting me to bring you this podcast on a daily basis. But I said it multiple times. You can go down the route of physical power. Okay, you can go down the route of wanting to prioritize that. Fine. But you still need a sprinkle of stardust. You still need that technical quality. And I felt that in recent times, we were compromising on the technical quality to prioritize the physical, powerful players. And technical brilliance it's not just black or white. Right, there's different versions of technical brilliance. So having amazing vision is technical brilliance. Having a great touch is technical brilliance. Being able to not just spot a pass, but execute a pass is technical brilliance. Being able to execute a finish. In-game intelligence. The things that go beyond how quick you are across the ground and how strong you are in a duel. That's what technical brilliance is. And if you don't have it in the final third, well, you need it somewhere else in the team. And you need to be able to create and to build up play from deeper areas. And in the absence of Martin Ødegaard, especially when we were using Thomas Partey at right back, we had none of that. We had none of that. And watching that first half yesterday makes you realise how bloody good Georgino is. And if you think back to last season, we were talking about Georgino as a bit of a catalyst, someone that came in when we were struggling and allowed us to get back on track and begin that incredible run that we went on after January, right? So Georgino's got form for doing this. He's got previous for doing this, for coming in and just raising the level technically. He's a coach on the pitch as well for Mikel Arteta, which massively helps in terms of us maintaining shape, discipline, getting everybody to do what their required jobs are. And having him and Ødegaard on the pitch together, well, that's a manager's dream. I'm not sitting here saying that Georgino has to start every game. I'm not saying that he's in our best 11. I don't think he is. I think he's at a stage in his career where we have to manage him carefully, but I still think he has a lot to offer, which is why, in my opinion, the club were right to give him that contract extension. But watching him yesterday does beg the question, why wasn't he turned to previously? And at the end of the season, I guess we're going to look back on this moment, if this is the spark that gets us going again, and we're going to say, well, that's the moment that Mikel Arteta turned it around. But had he made this decision, had he gone with this approach a few weeks back, maybe we wouldn't be as far behind as we are. And look, we don't know right now how much of an impact that's going to have. And we couldn't possibly tell you if we're going to live to regret that come the end of the season. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But it's just, I think yesterday was a reminder of what Georgino can offer. And people looked at Forest and went, really, really good side, myself included. Very physical side, very powerful side. And people would have had reservations about Georgino playing yesterday. But he did an unbelievable job. So whilst loads of the talk after this one is centred around Martin Ødegaard, and we're going to do that as well, don't worry, Georgino is the one that I really wanted to highlight first. Now, he went off at half-time. That was nothing to do with his performance. That was to do with the fact that, of course, he was on a yellow card. He got caught out a little bit in the sense of, he just maybe wasn't quick enough across the ground, maybe got dragged out wide to cover somebody else going forward. Yeah, I think with Georgino, we know what his limitations are. We're not denying those. We're not pretending they don't exist. So yeah, Partey comes on, not a bad replacement, and obviously scores a brilliant goal as well. And we'll come on to all of that a little bit later on. I do want to talk a little bit too about Leandro Trossard, because I thought he looked much better with the team functioning in the way that it should. He was able to drift into central areas at times out to the right-hand side too, but also maintain the width when we were looking for an out ball, knowing that Calafiori was going to sort of underlap him and allow Mikel Merino to push on one further and support him. So while the left side wasn't quite as devastating as our right, and we're going to discuss the right side in depth when we do our analysis section, it is far more functional when Calafiori plays. The balance is far better. Now, I would argue that when Calafiori plays there over Timber, we're weaker defensively, because I do think Calafiori has a tendency to take risks, has a tendency to drift into areas that as a fullback he has no right to be in. We talked about it post PSG, didn't we? That he was playing as a 10 at times, and I put that question to Mikel Arteta, who said, no, it wasn't an instruction for me. From me, it was something that he took on himself and went and done. So, yeah, there's a better balance there, and on the day we were able to manage that really, really well. So the right side is clearly our stronger side, and it's clearly where we like to build up through mainly. But the left side does look a lot more functional with Calafiori in it. Merino doing a more left eight-sided role without having to get dragged into other areas. And Trossard was better yesterday. You know, he was better. He wasn't amazing, and I don't think that, you know, he's done enough to completely shut the door on Gabriel Martinelli, but he was better yesterday than he has been. We had the ball in the net quite early in this one, but the goal was ruled as offside. Mikel Merino's header was eventually turned in by Jurrien Timber. Now, I don't have a problem with the decision because it did look offside to me. But what I will have a little bit of a moan about is the angle that they were working off. I mean, that was bloody atrocious, wasn't it? I can't believe that we still don't have semi-automated offsides in the richest, most powerful, most viewed league in world football. It just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, Bukayo Saka opened the scoring on a quarter of an hour. Superb finish after a good dribble. But the combination play between him and Ødegaard was what really stood out to me for that goal. And we're going to look at the combinations on that right-hand side a little bit later on in the pod. So forgive me if it feels like I'm just skimming over this. My kind of only concern at half-time, guys, was that we hadn't scored one more, or more, generally, because we were completely in control. We were creating. There was a fluency to our game. There was a zip. There was a tempo about everything that we did. And that's been missing for a while. So to see that come back, but then us essentially not packing that final punch and making sure that we put Nottingham Forest to the sword, putting them in a position where they couldn't recover, that was a little bit of a concern going in at the break. But early in the second half, Thomas Partey scored a wonderful goal, curled it in and away from Sells. And I said it at the top of the show, Thomas Partey seems to produce one of those from that position once a season, doesn't he? I'll always remember that one against Spurs, fantastic, where he just runs onto it. And normally he tries to curl it towards the near post. He kind of makes it seem like he's going to go towards the far post, and he sort of tries to bend it around and out and back into that near post. But this time he went across the goal, and he did it really, really well. The keeper beating all ends up. The third goal, Ethan Nwaneri, becomes the second youngest ever player to score for the club in the Premier League behind Cesc Fabregas. Not bad company to be keeping, is it? And it does then beg the question, should he have been playing more when Arsenal was struggling? And I guess the answer to that is probably yes. But I understand why Mikel Arteta and the club felt the need to be protective of him. To throw him into Ødegaard's position was a big risk, because if it didn't work, people would have been looking at Ethan Nwaneri and judging young Ethan Nwaneri, which I think is really unfair, because he's a 17-year-old still making his way in the game. And in Martin Ødegaard, we're talking about one of the best players in world football. But One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I'm back now. Hold on a second. 1, 2. Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, he's supremely talented, isn't he, Ethan Nwaneri? He's just unbelievable. The ability that he's got is clear for everybody to see. The in-game intelligence that he's got is just clear for everybody to see. And, you know, you do sit there and you think, should he have played more? Should he have got more minutes? Should he have been more involved? There's a part of me that wants to say that. There's a part of me that wants to say, you know, we should have played him more. But at the end of the day, as I've already said, I don't know how much of what I was saying you caught. Apologies, because the sound just cut out temporarily there. But there is a part of me that understands why we needed to protect him and why we needed to be really, really careful. But he's just such a good player. Like, he's magic. The way he controls the ball, the close control, the dribbling ability, the sharpness of movement, the way he can jink from left to right, the way he can suck people in and then just beat them with a quick, sharp piece of movement. He's just a phenomenal talent. And I can't wait to see more of him. I really can't. And I'm really chuffed for him that he managed to get his first Premier League goal of his career. I was going to say of the season, but it's of his career, and that's a remarkable moment in itself for him, of course. Okay, let's move on then to a bit of tactical analysis. Apologies again for the technical gremlins that are plaguing this live stream at the moment. I don't know what is going on. I really don't, but hopefully we can make our way through the rest of the podcast without too many issues. Just let me know in the live chat if the audio is coming through nice and clearly, because what I can't tell right now is if it's coming through my microphone or if it's coming through the laptop. Hopefully it's the crystal clear audio through the microphone that you were getting at the top of the program. But anyway, let's dive into some of that tactical analysis that I've been preparing for you. Hold on a second. Let me just make sure that we're in position for that. Yep, here we go. Okay, so let's have a look then. How about now? Have you got me? Hold on. We're having all sorts of problems here. How about now? You got me? I think you got me. Okay, so I wanted to start off by talking about Arsenal's five-pronged attack. When we were talking about Arsenal in such sort of positive terms last season, one of the things that we were constantly discussing and constantly talking about was how we attacked with this kind of five-prong attack that people were struggling to live with. And you saw plenty of examples of this again yesterday. If I just highlight the players involved, you can see Bukayo Saka on the right, Martin Ødegaard just inside, Gabriel Jesus, who started as the centre-forward yesterday, Mikel Merino joining in, so the 2-8s very much involved. And then, of course, Leandro Trossard on that far side. So that was back yesterday. And it hasn't been there for a little while, if we're being completely honest. You know, at times the 8s haven't managed to get up alongside the sort of front three in the way that they should. Look at Mikel Merino's movement on that far side. He sort of goes over there, which causes Ola Aina a problem. What does he do? Does he confront Leandro Trossard? He's got to be worried about the fact that that Merino's plonked himself in between Milenkovic and the fullback. And then, of course, to top it off, to make it even more impressive, and what's really, really important if you're going to go with this five-pronged attack and try and hurt people, is that is followed up. And you can see Ricardo Calafiori here is really, really keen and eager to follow it up and make sure that he gets involved. And all of a sudden, you've got a six-man attack. And Nottingham Forest struggled to live with that. Every time we won the ball back, every time we broke forward, there was an urgency, there was a desire, there was a hunger to get forward that maybe hasn't always been there in recent weeks. So it was great to see that. If we take it on to the next slide, I want to highlight to you guys another situation where, again, you know, we're flooding the box. You know, we're causing all sorts of problems. You look at where Ødegaard is. Again, you know, he's lurking on the edge of the box, and I talked about that space, didn't I, on the edge of the penalty area. There it is for you here, clear for everybody to see on the edge of Nottingham Forest penalty area. They can't deal with it. They can't cope with it. They don't track it well enough, because Arsenal have done a great job of making sure that everybody is occupying defenders, dragging defenders towards the goal, clearing that channel just in front of their penalty area for the likes of Ødegaard to run into. But again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Arsenal players in and around the Nottingham Forest penalty area. And look at Jurrien Timber squeezing up. Look at Georgino following up as well. All of a sudden, now you've got 8 Arsenal players within the final third. And that's the kind of thing that Arsenal did so well last season that they haven't really been doing at the start of this season. What we've got back to doing with Martin Ødegaard's return, and that's partly because he leads it and he's really intense in the way he goes about it, but partly because as well, being as intelligent as he is, being the captain, being the leader, he's able to kind of get that message across and make sure at all times that people are doing it. And that's what I really, really enjoyed about the performance yesterday, or one of the main things that I really, really enjoyed about yesterday's performance. Again, we'll take this on a little bit further, and this is another example. This is in the lead up to the Bukayo Saka goal. In recent weeks, we've seen many instances where we've worked the ball out to the right-hand side to Bukayo Saka, and before he's even got time to bring the ball under control, he's got 3, sometimes 4 players around him, and there's nowhere to go. He hasn't had that support that he gets when Martin Ødegaard is in the team. And I call this lot, based on yesterday's game, the Holy Trinity. Saka there, the furthest forward, Martin Ødegaard just that little bit deeper, and then Jurrien Timber joining in. The 3 of them combining all afternoon was one hell of a problem for Nottingham Forest. It was an issue that they just couldn't deal with. And in the end, Ødegaard pops the ball back off to Bukayo Saka. He takes it on, makes his way across the penalty area and fires past Sells in the Nottingham Forest goal. But look how close they are to one another. Look at the fact that once again, those players are in the same vicinity. They're causing confusion among the defenders who don't know who to pick up, who can't predict what run is going to come, what the movement's going to look like. And then if you add to that, I've highlighted the Holy Trinity there. Look at the follow-up. Merino, Calafiori and Georgino following up. If you want to include Timber in the follow-up, you can as well. So then you've got 4 Arsenal players essentially in the area and another 4 camped out on the perimeters of it. That's how you squeeze people. That's how you pressure people. That's how you force them into mistakes. That's how you force them into those errors. Again, another example I want to highlight. Again, on that right-hand side, Ødegaard picks up the ball. And we all know how talented Martin Ødegaard is, right? He picks the ball up on the right-hand side and he's attracted the attention of 1, 2, 3 Nottingham Forest defenders. Saka, just behind Martin Ødegaard, has ghosted into this area here. We know he's going to come round here. And then he can potentially work across from the edge of the box, create a shooting situation or opportunity for himself. That's brilliant from him because he knows that Ødegaard's brilliance is attracting all 3 of those defenders. And look, you can say what you want about them supposedly covering and picking up the likes of Timber, who's made a run in, or Gabriel Jesus, but the truth is they're not. They're not. They have no idea where Timber and Jesus are in this instance because Ødegaard is so good, everybody knows it, that they're all attracted to him, and that creates space for others. Now, if you're going to play that way, if you're going to play that game, if you're going to play the game where you try and pull people out of position, the guy that you have in possession has to be good enough to be able to hold it in those circumstances and find the pass afterwards. And my God, Martin Ødegaard is. Again, the Holy Trinity on the right-hand side. This time it changes in terms of the personnel, but it's the same thing. It's the same effect. This time Jesus involved. Ødegaard, Saka, and look who's inside of them. Again, a player joining in, a player trying to help out and cause a problem. And again, we're talking about that pocket of space on the edge of the Nottingham Forest box that they are not protecting well enough. And if they do work it to Georgino here, he can do something, he can do damage. You see what I mean? The way we combine on that right-hand side is really, really good. We do it brilliantly, and we're pulling players out of position, left, right, and centre. And the guys on the left have a job to do as well, right? People will focus on the right-hand side, understandably. But look at the positions here of Mikel Merino and of Leandro Trossard. Now, them being there means that those 2 on the far side, and even the 3rd man just by the penalty spot in Nottingham Forest colours, they can't come over to the near post area. They can't come and help their teammates out in dealing with that Ødegaard, Saka and Jesus combination in this instance. They are occupying people. They might not always get on the ball. They might not do as much in possession as those on our right-hand side, but they have a role to play in occupying people. And that's what I talk about when I talk about, the 5-pronged attack. Again, you can see it very clearly here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that causes Nottingham Forest all sorts of problems. And again, it's been followed up. You can only see 2 of them in your picture here, but it's followed up by Saka and it's followed up by Georgino in this instance. Let's take it on a little bit further because there's more analysis to come your way. Here we go. Here's an example of Arsenal breaking forward in the second half. And I believe this was in the build-up to the goal that Thomas Partey scored. Again, the Holy Trinity. Look at them. Look how close they are to one another. There you go. You could throw a net over all 3 of them. That's the starting position when they receive the ball. But if you watch as this move develops, they all break off in different directions. And that's what Nottingham Forest simply cannot deal with. Look at it here. They end up in this situation. Saka's pulled out wide right. Timber's occupying the half space, making sure that the defender can't go out to Saka as early as he'd like. Martin Ødegaard is going to continue his run towards the penalty area. And then if we take it on a little bit further, you will see that when Thomas Partey arrives on the edge of the box, the other 3, Timber, Ødegaard and Saka, have all done their jobs. Again, they're in that triangle shape. Again, they're dragging people out of the way. And again, this space on the edge of the box is free and it's open for someone in Arsenal colours to expose. And when it comes to Thomas Partey, he takes full advantage of it and puts it in the back of the net. Brilliant goal from Arsenal. Brilliant play. And in the end, they get what they deserve, which was that second that ultimately, I think, killed Nottingham Forest. Again, you're looking at another situation where Arsenal are coming forward. This time it's Ethan Nwaneri in possession. He goes on to dribble past Murillo here and gets a shot off himself. But don't underestimate the roles of Sterling on the right, who's taking the fullback with him. Jesus here, who makes a move infield here and creates a bit of space for Ethan Nwaneri to of course, come infield. And Zinchenko, who came on to help us try and wrap up the game. You know, he's joining in. He's doing what Calafiori was doing earlier in the game, which is getting involved in the attack and bringing the numbers that we need to play the patterns that we want to play and to cause the problems that we're looking to cause. So, yeah, again, lots of positives. The movement was there yesterday, the kind of movement that we haven't seen that much recently. And this is, I believe, the shot that Ethan Nwaneri gets off. It's not his goal, but again, you look at the run that Raheem Sterling's making. He's taking the fullback with him. Gabriel Jesus just coming in there, occupies Milenkovic, means that he can't step out. You've got Alexander Zinchenko, who's an option on the edge of the box, and Leandro Trossard's maintaining a bit of width on that left-hand side. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-pronged attack. And this is something that Arsenal so much last season. And they haven't really done it as much this season and as well this season. And that's been an issue, and it's been a concern, and it's been partly why we haven't been as good going forward. But you saw signs of all of that returning yesterday, which is the most encouraging thing. Okay, that's enough of the tactical analysis. Let's take some of your questions from the live chat, but also from social media, because a fair few of you sent some in over the last 24 hours or so. Let me pick some of those up. There's some on X. There are some on Blue Sky as well. Let me go into those and I'll pick some of them up. So here we go. Sosa says, do Arsenal have a real chance at the Premier League title this year? Of course they do. Of course they do. Is it the best chance? No. Would I make them favourites right now? No, because of the situation that we're in. I think you have to make Liverpool favourites as of today. But of course we're in it. You know, we can go on a run, and if we do, there's no reason why we won't be right back in there. And as we've learned in recent seasons, the titles aren't won in November. Titles aren't won until April and May. That's the truth of it. So of course we got a chance. Maka says, yes, we had a good game, but do you reckon that Kai on this day would have made us more efficient up front and provided us with better finishing? In my opinion, Jesus is trying too hard and rushes his decisions. Your opinion? We were having this debate in a WhatsApp group yesterday. Like, somebody said, it was so from the Highbury squad, she won't mind me saying, she said, if Havertz had played, we'd have scored 5. And I kind of agree with that to a point and to a degree. But the point that we won the game as convincingly as we did without Kai Havertz is a positive. And I don't think we should be looking at it through that lens. Like, I don't think it should be, oh, well, if X was playing, we'd have been more efficient and we'd have done more and it'd have been a much better outcome. I don't think you should look at it that way. I think you should look at it through the lens of the fact that we won that convincingly without playing the guy who's clearly our best centre forward. It says quite a bit about the squad and how well we rotated yesterday. Let me take a few more questions. Guna Work says, does this City losing streak feel more like a blip to you, or do you feel like this is a sign of much deeper issues that they won't be able to recover from this season? The longer it goes on, the more you start to think that it's a deeper problem. But at the same time, Manchester City have taught us in recent years that you can never write them off, and you should never write them off. So I'm not going to do that. I refuse to fall into that trap. But you do start to wonder, of course, what is actually going on there? Like, why has it got so bad? And why are they in this position where they can't drag themselves out? I know they've had players out this season, and Rodri's a big miss. But it also goes to show, doesn't it, that when we were saying, or when a lot of us were saying, Ødegaard's out, of course it's going to impact our performance, and people were going, well, it's just one player. Well, one player can make a hell of a lot of difference, and you can see that with Manchester City. Now you can see it with us, given the improvement since Ødegaard's return. Mr. T says, massive win. How far is Nwaneri from stepping into the first team? I'm all for giving him time to mature, but my God, the kid is great. Yeah, he is great. I wouldn't use him as a starter right now. I don't think there's any need. I don't think he's better than Martin Ødegaard right now, right? So I think he's a long-term option for us, of course. I think you need to give him enough minutes to keep him engaged, to keep him happy, to keep him developing. And I think Mikel Arteta's got the right idea with all of that. But yeah, where would I put him in the starting 11 if he came in? That's the big question. Like, who would he start in front of? What position would he play? His best position is the Ødegaard position, but you don't want to take Martin Ødegaard out. Do I think there'll be game states in certain fixtures where they can both be on the pitch at the same time? I do. I don't think that's the way you start a game, though. I think that unbalances us. But I do think there will be game states where we're chasing a goal, for instance, or when we're comfortable cruising to a victory, 2, 3, 4-0 up, where you think, yeah, go on, get them both on and let's see how they can combine and what they can bring. Dismal Dave on Blue Sky says, please mention our flawless rock, number 1, David Raya. Handling great, anticipation, distribution, all superb. Wouldn't swap him for anyone now. He just looks so much more comfortable now, doesn't he, in his own skin at Arsenal, and it's great to see. Really, really enjoying his performances at the minute, and you're right to highlight how good he's been. Look, I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to summarise by saying we're back. And I know that people are going to say, stop getting carried away. It's one victory and we're still 9 points off Liverpool if they win their game today and all the rest of it. I get all of that. But for me, for a couple of games now, Inter away, I know we lost the game, but at Inter I thought we did okay. At Chelsea we were better and we got a point. And yesterday we were brilliant. And I just think that slowly we've been playing our way back into form, back to the level that we know that we're capable of and should be playing. And I believe that we're capable of going on a run now, and we will go on a run now. And you know, we're not going to know until the end of that run, you know, how much or how far that goes in terms of dragging us back into the race. But I've really, really enjoyed yesterday's performance. There were signs of Arsenal being close to their best again. And we're going to need to be if we're going to claw back the ground that we lost. So let's all get behind the team. Let's be positive. Let's enjoy the football, because the football yesterday was a delight, wasn't it? Really excited about Ethan Nwaneri. Martin Ødegaard, majestic as ever. Bukayo Saka, efficient as ever. Positive performances from Calafiori, who came back in at left back. From Mikel Merino, I thought he was better. From Leandro Trossard, who again I thought was better after having a bit of a turbulent time of late. So there's lots of positives to take away from it, and we managed to do that, produce that performance, get that result with heavy rotation as well. Champions League game coming up on Tuesday against Sporting. That is not going to be easy, and then it's back to the Premier League for us. So yeah, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling positive. There's no point in crying over the spilt milk. You know, the points that we're behind Liverpool right now, there's no point crying about that right now. Just focus on getting the performances right, and if we do, the points will come, and if the points come, I'm confident that we will reduce the arrears between ourselves and Liverpool Football Club. So yeah, positive note to end on. Really, really enjoyed what I saw yesterday. Thank you for your interaction, participation, and all the rest of it. Really have enjoyed speaking with you guys this morning on the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. Remember, you can sign up on Patreon and support us if you'd like. You'll get access to our matchday reaction content as well. You can, of course, leave us a like here on YouTube, which massively helps. Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already, and if you're listening on the audio platforms, please do leave us a review because that massively helps too. Sorry for some of the technical glitches during the live stream. If you're listening back, you probably won't even notice, but we did have a few technical issues on the stream, so I do want to apologize to those of you that were with us, and thank you for staying with us despite those. And we'll be back with another pod tomorrow where I'm sure there'll be some further talking points to take away from this game, and we can start looking ahead to that game in Lisbon. That's going to be an interesting one. All the best, guys. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye.